Alright, so you might have a pretty decent idea of what SPF is since it's on all of the bottles of sunblock. And you know that 15 is not as good as 30 is not as good as 45. But if you also notice that clothing now says UPF, what do all these numbers mean? First, SPF stands for sun protection factor, and it's actually the less strict of the two metrics. It only protects against UVB rays. UPF stands for ultraviolet protection factor and protects against UVA and UVB rays. There's actually a third type of UV ray. It's called UVC rays. Those are the most energetic and would penetrate the deepest through your skin because they're almost like X-rays. But generally the ozone layer protects us from those. However, less true if you're in Australia. Sorry, Australia. So if you read about SPF, it gets kind of confusing because they're like, well, if you burn normally in 10 minutes, SPF 15 gives you 150 minutes instead. It's 15 times as long, but it kind of breaks down because 30 isn't, 300 minutes. So actually a better way to look at it is as a denominator. So in a fraction, there's the numerator, which is the top number, and the denominator, which is the bottom number. Those numbers can function as the bottom number. Both SPF and UPF purportedly sort of work like this, but it's much more true for UPF. But basically, if you have a UPF 50, then 1 over 50 rays will get through, which means only 2% of rays are going to get through at all. But interestingly enough, I don't know if you paid attention in math class or not. I did, actually, which was awesome. Works well for life. 2 UPF 20 t-shirts layered are going to be much more powerful than a UPF 40 shirt so when you multiply two fractions, you're basically, especially when they're ones at the top, you're basically multiplying the denominators, which means that 20 times 20 becomes 400. Only 1 out of 400 rays is going to get through, which is a very, very small amount of light. So whenever possible, just layer 2 lower UPF shirts and you're going to end up with a cheaper outfit than buying those UPF 50 shirts, many of which feel very plasticky. And while that math is really good for us, the math that's not so good is that you should be using about an ounce of sunblock in order to get your whole body covered in it. And if you're using half of that amount, so if you use half the amount of sunblock that you're supposed to, and you use SPF 50, you're not getting 50 and you're not getting 25, you're getting 7. That's a square root of 50. Admittedly, an SPF of 7 is not insignificant. That's still going to give you a little bit of protection, but nowhere near the amount of protection you would think that you would have, especially since you're supposed to reapply every 2 hours, and people don't do that at all. But 1 ounce is a lot of sunblock. Like, this is 3 ounces, so this would only be 3 applications. And this Blue Lizard brand, which is awesome normally, is only 1.7 ounces. So you wouldn't even get 2 applications out of this entire bottle. Usually people are using half as much or even a quarter as much as they should be, which I don't even know how to do a cube root anymore. Oh, quartile root? At this point, I don't even know how to put that number into my calculator on my phone. So, not happening. I guess maybe just take the square root twice, something like that. I don't know. Maybe I should have paid more attention. I'm Kiki Shear, and thanks for tuning into my channel, AIP Awesomely, AIP standing for Autoimmune Protocol. These are good tips for people who are suffering from autoimmune diseases, might be sensitive to light, and want to take a diet that will help them out. I hope you'll stick around and see what I do with this channel. We'll see how it goes. I'm kind of learning things as I go myself.